Alright, what's going on, guys? So I just got done playing the pre-alpha demo of the new First Person Soulslike game, Valor Mortis. This is a new title from the developers of the Ghostrunner series, and I'm not gonna lie, the prospect of a First Person Souls-like game had me very skeptical at first. However, now after playing it, I am extremely impressed. Now, first off, this video is not sponsored. I was simply given a key to play this demo, which lasted for about 45 minutes, and lets you play through the first level. So we definitely don't get to experience the full game, but there's a lot here. There's enough in this demo to paint for you the picture of what this game is going to be, and genuinely I am very impressed with what I played. So as we dive into a big overview of this game, its systems, how it plays, and how it plays as a Souls-like, if you want to stay up to date on all things Souls-like games, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and now let's get into it. So like I said, Valor Mortis is a new first-person Souls-like game developed by One More Level, the creators of Ghostrunner, and this has you playing as a fallen soldier in the Napoleonic Wars who wakes up to his comrades turning into monsters. And that's about all the context you have at the start of the game, aside from the voice of Napoleon himself talking to you in your head. Now right off the bat, I absolutely love the setting of this game, having the context of real history, real-world events, and for once not totally set in medieval times, and that is very refreshing. Now, much like Ghostrunner, this game runs very fluid, the graphics are great, and the action and movement is very fun to play. Now, I'm throwing the term Souls-like around because that is what the game is proclaiming to be. Now, if this was set in the third person, anyone who has played Souls-like games would have absolutely no issue understanding the game's systems and how things work. So combat is very precise. You have your dodge, your parry, blocking, health, stamina management, mana management, healing items that reset at checkpoints that you respawn at when you die that also respawns the world's enemies, your XP and currency that you drop on the ground whenever you die, Metroidvania style level design. So yes, the term Souls-like is very appropriate here. Again, if you've played a Souls-like game, you will immediately understand how this game works. And that actually does translate quite well into the first person, although it will take a bit of getting used to. But if you played something like Cyberpunk with the sword combat in that game, Elder Scrolls, of course those aren't Souls-like combat in any capacity, but you can generally get the idea of how this will work. That's kind of how I thought of it going into it, and I seemed to do pretty well. But this was only the first level. I'm sure it's going to get a lot harder, and I still died a few times. But there are other systems at play too. Now with the setting of the 1800s, you of course have guns, the one you get to play with here being a 6-shooter, and it mixes in very well with the combat because its primary use is to shoot enemy weak points that will either do a lot of damage, destroy a portion of the enemy, or weaken them in some other significant way. And this has also been incorporated into the level design because you'll find these weak points on structures or materials made out of the monster enemy type. And in typical Metroidvania fashion, when you realize this, you'll want to go backtrack and find the ones you've missed to uncover secrets, like a mini boss fight for example. And it's not just the pistol, there are also other powers you can unlock, such as this ability to cast flames, which like the pistol can either be used in combat or level traversal. But now let's get into some opinions, how I actually felt playing the game. Now with these being the developers behind Ghostrunner, it's no surprise that the movement feels very good and extremely fluid and intuitive. And that translates to the combat as well. It just feels good to play. It's all very satisfying, which oftentimes can make or break a Souls-like. One little gripe I have is that the gunplay does feel a little bit clunky. It can be pretty hard to aim at times when you're aiming for small weak points on an enemy that can get you killed pretty quickly. For example, against this multi-armed enemy that was throwing bombs, I found it very hard to hit the weak point on his arm. The aim with the pistol just isn't snappy enough, and there probably are settings you can mess with, but this could be a part of the game that gets adjusted before release. Something to look at least. But another thing to note with this enemy in particular, aside from his basket of bombs clipping off of him a few times, he has an attack where he throws bombs, and that's the primary attack. That one was fine. But he has another attack where he'll drop a bomb at his feet like you can see on screen now, and for some reason that was so hard to dodge. But several times I thought I was plenty far away and would still get hit. Now like in pretty much every Souls-like, your two means of avoiding damage are your dodge and your parry. You can block attacks, which kind of like in Lies of P, will deal damage to your health, but you can get it back by attacking the enemy. Enemies also have posture that can be broken by attacking and successfully parrying attacks, which then open them up for a big critical hit, which also seems to function exactly like Lies of P, where you'll have a little marker on the ground that you need to stand in order to trigger that attack. Now here's where I want to talk about the boss fight of the demo, because here you actually have to put into use all the combat lessons you learned in the level so far. Now immediately you'll notice that the boss has weak points that you can destroy with your gun that will deal significant posture damage. He also has multi-attack combos, which if you parry in succession, will fill up that posture bar extremely fast. He is also very susceptible to the fire spell. You can see there will be a little bar beneath his posture bar that shows you how much of that status effect you've inflicted. And on a side note, you refill your mana by dealing damage to enemies, which I think is a great system. And that is the case for the first phase of the fight, but in the second phase, he'll unlock unblockable attacks, which can only be avoided by dodging or perfect dodging. Now, there is a jump in this game, and he does have an attack where he sends out a shockwave. I tried to jump over that, but I don't think it was a way to dodge the attack, which is a little unfortunate, but maybe I just timed it wrong. Regardless though, when you're mixing all of these elements together, combat feels great. It is very, very fun, and extremely satisfying when you land that perfect dodge and time slows down, and you unlock a critical hit like you're seeing on screen here. All of that together, super, super satisfying. And this boss, as an introductory boss, making you mix all those systems together is kind of exactly what a tutorial boss should be. It's hard but not too hard, and if you really put everything together, you can absolutely dominate him. Now you absolutely can beat the boss by just dodging and light attacking, but that's not getting the most out of it, and it's going to be a lot harder than if you really do everything the game taught you. Now I was able to bring him down in 3 tries. He wasn't very hard, and I was using this power up that you can equip that gets rid of your healing flask, but makes your melee attacks refill your health, and that came in super handy. Now kind of to reiterate the point I felt throughout the whole game here, in the first person you wouldn't expect it to work out super well, but it just does work. Feels good to play, and overall I did really enjoy this boss, and I'm excited to see what the rest of the game has to offer. Now let me kind of just give my overall thoughts here, the positives, the negatives, things I liked, things I didn't like. Overall, number 1, the graphics in the world are fantastically done. The game is beautiful. There's so much mood and atmosphere as you're exploring, as you have Napoleon talking to you. It sets the mood very well. I also need to praise the level design, at least for this first level. It was very well done. I liked the backtracking a little bit. It wasn't too far. It made you pay attention to the world, and I feel like backtracking is a bit of a lost art in many modern games, so it's nice to see them doing it tastefully here. Now, one negative that I did experience is that I did have a glitch where this enemy hit me up into a rock and I got stuck and could no longer move or attack, and that got me killed. Also, the skill tree that you have here, it is fairly straightforward, but it's hard to tell exactly what each stat does with certain terminology that I'm sure you'll pick up as you play the game, but I do feel like things here could be a bit more streamlined to make more sense at first glance. Also, I would like to know if there's going to be a lot more weapon variety later in the game. I'm not really a fan of the curved sword you start out with. I would like to see other options like a broadsword, for example. Of course, wielding it with one hand does limit your abilities, but maybe there's a build option for something like a greatsword later on, where you have to sacrifice your left hand. That would be interesting, but that's just something we're gonna have to wait till the full release to find out. Performance overall was generally good. I was playing at 4K 60 frames. I did encounter a few frame drops, not many though, and not enough to impact gameplay, but they did happen, and I'm playing on a pretty powerful system. Overall though, I have to just say again, I was impressed with what I played. Based off this demo, this is definitely going to be a game I pick up whenever the full release comes out, and I'm excited to learn more about it. Now again, this was only an hour of gameplay, only the first level and one boss fight, but I'm curious to hear what you guys think about what you've seen so far. Is Valor Mortis on your radar? Are you looking forward to the full release? And what do you think of the first real first-person Souls-like that's kind of hitting the mainstream? With all that though, if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to leave a like on it and subscribe if you're new around here, and I will catch you in the next one.